back to the Berg podcast. Thanks for joining me today. With me today is Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And Ford.
Hey, how's it going?
And today we are talking about celebrating Construction Appreciation Week. And it's one of those things that comes, it's like Christmas. It's going to come around.
Every year.
It's going to come around every year. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about the things that we try to do year round, but why this week is the week that we decide to make it sort of like public almost. Right?
Yeah, we talk about it. We're a little more active.
Yeah.
You know, we make a point to go out and you know, just see the team and say hi, say thank you, run around. So we make sure we do it every year at this time. But it does feel a little bit put on, right? Because we go out, you know, on a regular basis and see the team. Not everybody.
Yeah. Not me. So
that's true. You know
so what I mean? I do like. I like to, I do. It does. I have to acknowledge, like I don't have a lot of reasons to show up at a site. So this at least is one intentional reason why I can be out there. I can see our guys in action. I see them when we do other things, but see our guys in action, see the sites, because I don't actually often get to put eyes to what's happening. But but no, you're right. I mean, it's not unusual. Our leadership, our supervisors, they're in the field a lot.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, I mean, a lot of our office, you know, what I mean, side, like, I mean, Sierra and Tori get out there. Tracy doesn't get out there as much because she has some responsibilities that tie her more to the office. But you know, Tori with the photos, and then Sierra's been doing it actively with Stetson, going out once a week.
Sure.
Just to see it, because as we've always talked about it before, to really see what we do, it gives you more perspective to be able to understand what you're trying to support and what you're trying to facilitate.
Yeah. I get
But it was an interesting start, just because we all, you know, we have a lot of special projects jobs running right now. So everybody got to go see different, but each on a different special project site. You know, really interesting sites going on crazy. I mean, some of them are just, you know, beautiful. Some of them are, the one you were on was very tight, very
tight. Yeah.
Postage stamp-ish site where they're doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, I was on a site that was really big. I mean, big enough to be a large commercial site just for a house.
Yeah.
Scott sort of halfway in the middle there. You know, and as we go on, you know, we're going to get to see all the jobs. So there's a lot of jobs, a lot of variety you're going to get to see. I forget which ones, you know, you went to versus I went to, but
Bear, TLE, and Secra.
Yeah, so I mean, Secra's one.
Yeah.
You know, that really it's in an interesting state because we're in that capping state, and there's a really you know, just a crazy site condition that's unusual for a landfill that we've had to adapt to. So that's interesting to see and see what the guys can do and how our work really plays out. So it's a good group of jobs to see go around. You know, the team's doing an outstanding job. We've had good weather, knock on wood, of late. A little bit of rain this week, but good weather. So we're pushing through. The team seems it's exciting also to see the equipment running again. Mm-hmm. You know, like we are really genuinely back to running again. We're seeing the hours running the machines, getting close to the numbers we need, whether that be from a field standpoint where they feel like they're running, you know, hours wise or equipment wise, or from an office standpoint of how you or I look at it, which is, you know, a lot of times tied to hours on machines and how that translates into, you know, our costing and everything else. We're seeing it, that we're running again. And for me, one of the things, and you'll see it later in the week, where you'll see it, as you get to see some of the jobs, you're going to see it as there's like an odd tie, and I don't know if it'll happen for you. Ford will probably really get it, is you hear the backup alarms, and the number of backup alarms running tells you how much we're working. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, you get on a site and it's like, beep, it's just one. Like, okay, we're running equipment, but I mean, it's one piece of equipment, you know?
Sure.
And a skid loader doesn't have a backup alarm because it would just beep constantly. But you know, at one of the sites I was on, and there's 5 or 6 backup alarms all going, which you wouldn't think that would be a sound that would that would relate the way it does to me. But for me, when I hear a lot of backup alarms, it means we're working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff's being done.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was. Go ahead, Ford. Sorry.
And I was going to say a symphony of beep, beep, beep.
It's a cacophonous symphony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, like, why do we celebrate? Why do we acknowledge Construction Appreciation Week? Because I was thinking about this. You know, I feel like in some ways we say, probably if we go back and listen, we probably say similar things on this episode every year about how much we appreciate our folks, how much we feel like the industry as a whole is a little probably underappreciated, because they're mostly seen as an inconvenience, like, you know, when
Yeah.
people are traveling, when people are have to get around construction,
Yep.
go through construction. And, you know, we're going to talk about how we maybe don't acknowledge it frequently enough publicly. But I also thought, like this week, you know, while it's an appreciation, it's an opportunity to recognize our folks. I think that there's a little bit of like a public education aspect to it, right? Where like we know internally how great our folks are. We talk about it at regular interval. It's not an industry anymore that people just sort of fall into because there's no other options. It's generally speaking an industry that's highly skilled, requires a modicum of a lot of talent and a lot of commitment, and probably some of the most difficult working conditions that vary throughout the year. So we get it, and so but I think that part of this is a little bit of like that public education piece. Like we got to figure out more ways to highlight it, just to tell other people, one, so that it keeps future generations of those who are interested in the industry connected, but it also like continues to highlight our folks publicly to say, like, you know, all right, yeah, you had to sit there at traffic control and wait your turn in a single lane place, or yeah, you had to slow down to 55 so that the only thing that's separating you and the folks doing the work at that barricade so that you don't run into everything. And like that feels like an inconvenience. You're on the turnpike, right? You want to go
The speed limit.
Mm-hmm. The speed limit, 70 all the time, and the 55,
Give or take.
right? The 55 feels like an inconvenience, but what we often don't get to like highlight because of the progress is
And you don't see, you only see right where you are,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's all we see is that, you know, in the turnpike example, is that yesterday I could drive 70 and today I have to drive 55.
Yeah.
What we don't think about is you could drive 70 because somebody built the road, which used to be 55 because somebody built the road,
Right.
which used to be not a highway. So you didn't have, you know, like you got to go back. Like there's been construction each time. So every time we do something, it's an improvement that people are only happy once they get it. And, you know, some of the places you see the negative side of it, right, is over in Jersey, there's the 295 interchange, which has been an unmitigated nightmare. There's been wall failures, all kinds of stuff, and everybody can point blame, but it's been like a 12-year project. So like in that's hard, right, because you've been inconvenienced in theory to some degree for a decade.
Sure.
And you know that there's like some better thing coming, but not coming. But that's not normally our world. Like you look at what construction does. We excel at doing things pretty quickly in the scheme of how much work gets done.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but it creates, you know, a lot more viability, a lot more use, a lot more availability. The other thing you were talking about was, you know, making it that part of this, I think, push has to be almost like going back to the Labor Day idea. Right, that we have to talk about all the things that are good about our work, our people, the conditions, the equipment, all those things, and we have to talk about it enough to try and create a situation where it's a desirable path for people that are aged, let's say, you know, 18 to 22, right? Which seems really funny for me to pick it but the reason I'm doing it is how many times have we talked about, if you talk to most 4 to 8-year-old boys, they would love to do what we do, right?
Sure.
And then at some point between being a young teenager, it gets convinced to most people that this is not the best thing for them to do. There's a lot of other options that are better because it's easier, it's not in the conditions, it's more professional, it pays more, all these things. And so part of what's really important about Construction Appreciation Week, in my opinion, is not just to appreciate our team, but to highlight their successes. And then maybe even in the future, you know, not today, but maybe even in the future, talk to people about it and have them, you know, tell their successes, right? Whether we do that with social media or with podcasts, or Ford always says like shotgun method, we have to put it out 50 different ways, but to highlight some of the things that have been provided, you know, and even you can think about that internally, because even a lot of the white collar, so to speak, people, they came from families with blue collar families.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So their lifestyle was facilitated by the hard work of these people. So to put it down and say like, oh, well, you know, it would be better if I could be this other thing, it strays away from how we got here.
Yeah.
Most of us.
I agree.
Well, the other thing I was thinking about is like, it's kind of swung back and forth with this construction appreciation because it's a little bit on the nose. Like, really, like someone made up this, we're talking about holidays the other week or whatever. And it's like, oh, they just made it up so they could, post about it. But then the other side of it is any positive communication or ability to get out the message about what we do, not just us, but the industry in general, we have to take it. Like, we can't just, it might be like really like, there's a week in the middle of, September, like kind of stupid. But the reality is that anytime we can get anything that would help drive the industry forward, we have to use it and hope that it, gets across the message. I was thinking back, like when we first started on any kind of social media, we took a lot of pictures of equipment and, it's cool, but like we've switched so much over to the team because that's what matters. Everybody that's in our industry has big equipment. Maybe it's a crane, maybe it's a dozer, maybe it's a lift, who knows what. But it's really the people that make the difference. And that's, it's not actually the construction, it's the people doing the construction that I have the appreciation for. The actual work, it's how it gets done by the people that wake up every morning and head out and deal with the elements.
Well, you know what gets me I think about construction and not specifically what we do, right? Because we don't do a lot of like heavy highway, infrastructure work. We do it a little bit here and there, but it's not our bread and butter. There's companies that's what they do. Is this side of construction, be it heavy highway, civil, or big commercial, industrial, all this stuff has changed so much. It has so much has been done to make it different, arguably better. Less impactful, better water management, there's all these things that have changed when some things have not, and one thing that comes to mind is there's an old story about the very end and the very beginning are the reason that the rocket boosters on the old space shuttle were the size they were is because of train tracks and tunnels. Mm-hmm. And the reason the tunnels were, the story I'm talking about, that it goes back to what the width of the wheels to get around a horse's ass in Roman times were. That's why train tracks are the width they are. So you think about it, you're talking thousands of years and it never changed and it impacts things today, like how big a boxcar can be. Right. It's because of that. But so much of what has been done in construction, especially in the United States, we really take off a lot of those restraints a lot of the time. Like when push comes to shove, they say, we got to find a way to do this. And they let the teams do it. Mm-hmm. And that's when it really gets interesting is when you have an architect, an engineer, and a construction company, and they all work together to try and reach a solution, and that's where we really see, that's what really interests me. Like it's you can go build a project and it comes out exactly the way it's supposed to. But Ford and I have always liked, what's Heath's line? He likes dirty.
Dirty fast. No, dirty
fast, dirty. It's three things, but in essence, it's that it makes it difficult. Yeah. I'm gonna mess it up. I'll think of it later. Maybe we'll talk about it later. Yeah. But and that's what it is. I love that situation. Certainly, Secra is one of those situations. Where we had to find a way to do something, and that makes it interesting. It makes it that you're not just baling dirt every day, and seeing our guys work in that environment and the changes. And machine wise, Ford, we talk about machines. What gets you with machines still, pictures wise, is I saw Rosso posted something this week, and it's their blacked out D6, right? Sure. That's cool. Like those aren't supposed to be blacked out, but it looks cool. And another thing that gets us with us is our use of that NCON. At this point, when you see Chad run that NCON, and I'm singling him out because he runs it the most, that 170, it almost looks like he's painting with it. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those guys. Chad could do just about anything with that machine right now. And it's crazy to watch, Greg with a dozer. And we've been over the guys. People, that listen know. And that's not knocking anybody else because we got some young kids who have an amazing amount of ability and, and that sort of thing. But some of the equipment that they can actually use, you think, these are just a bunch of, guys that ended up in this field and then they just do this because they do this. Go ahead and get in an NCON. Let's see you run it. You know what I mean? It's not going to be pretty. It's got more controls than a gamer would have on a gaming device. That's how much variation there is in what he can do with that bucket.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about it while you were talking, and something you said kind of triggered in my mind. Like we're talking about customer appreciation, and we love highlighting the people, right? The people are the reason all of it happens. It has almost nothing to do with what machine they're in. If the machine doesn't go without the human being, the stuff on the ground doesn't happen without somebody making sure it's happening. But I was thinking about guys like Greg, guys like Chad, guys like Tom, and then guys like we just brought in a young guy who's doing an intern or co-op in the shop, Mason.
Yep.
And Spencer, who's kind of same story. And the appreciation factor probably means different things to those folks. Because I thought it was we're like, hey, we want to tell the story. We want to show the people. I bet we're probably split close to the middle with people who are like, no, you paid me. That was what I needed. You showed up. You appreciated me by making sure I got my paycheck on Friday. And so thanks. That's all the appreciation I expected.
Yeah.
To some of our other folks who, as our generational shift happens across our workforce, we're like, hey, I wouldn't mind being on the Instagram page, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being highlighted as part of the story, and how that's different, and how as a company we've really had to sort of adapt to that a little bit. I thought it was funny when you said Ford, when we started doing some of our social media type stuff, we did it because we saw someone else that was doing it that was cool, right? Yep. And there weren't very many folks doing it. And probably, I honestly don't even know if it lasted a year where Ford, you were like, nobody knows the difference. Nobody knows the difference between that dozer and that dozer and that dozer or that track hoe, or they don't, all of it is cool and all of it is big and all of it is yellow. and that's it. That's what you get. And so
would you like your mustard yellow or your bright yellow or your bright orange? Which version of yellow are you looking for?
Yeah, so because originally we were like, oh, show how big it is, show how cool it is, show it picking up a full bucket of dirt, and pretty fast. I mean, I don't even know if it was a year. Maybe we got more than a year.
Full buckets only or whatever they used to joke about.
Yeah, but pretty fast. It was like every guy on the block has the same thing, whether or not he's taking pictures of it. But what we have is our people.
It's our people.
What we have is their story. Nobody else has that.
I can't. I feel like you're going to be able to explain this better, but I'm going to start it right because you do you did photography on the side, it's a thing you like to do, right? But you can. I never take a picture of an awesome looking low full moon that looks like what I know it looks like. Oh, I just don't. I don't know what I've learned to take the Traco dozer people pictures. I can do that, right? But I never get it because the truth is the picture isn't of the moon, right? It's the things around it that you have to figure out a way to frame in a way that makes people see what it is that your eye can naturally see.
Right.
So you can't do that, and that became the reality of those pictures. Is yes, it was cool to have this giant track hoe, right? But even if you made it two machines, what makes the giant track hoe picture cool is something in front of it to show you how big it is. But more so, what made it cool was to see the guy working the machine.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the pictures became not of the equipment, even though the equipment is in the picture.
Sure.
Right? And we realized that. And I think it speaks to the industry, right?
Well,
the industry has always been about that equipment.
Yeah. When
really it should have been about the people, because that's the story, that the story is those guys and their plight and their story and on a daily basis. We're not talking about when I was a child, I'm saying they got there and it was hot and it was dusty. And if you can show that, and there was a couple billboards that Myers did for a while. There were just great pictures of their people in less than ideal conditions. You know what I mean? The reality was it was a person that was hot and sweaty and dusty, but that speaks to what the industry is. And if you're going to sell it, you have to sell it for what it is. Right. You know what I mean? You can't sell it that this is a desk job. It's not. We can talk all we want about that we've adjusted it and basically those machines are like video games at this point. And that's true.
Sure.
Until it's not 100 degrees and there's no rain and there's dust blowing across it and you need to have the door open so that you can talk to the people. Now all of a sudden it's not a video game. It gets pretty real now.
Yeah. Well,
and that's the story.
And I think the extension of that, like everything's environment and everything's perspective. Like you see the machine and you think the machine is the thing that makes it powerful, but it's just an extension of the guy sitting at the controls.
Yeah.
The machine, at the moment, I mean, I know there's some technology out there that they're working through, but at the moment, the machine doesn't do anything without the guy.
Yeah.
Right? And even extensions of AI and automation, it still takes the guy to know the machine's doing the right thing, and it still takes the guy to manipulate what the machine does, and even if he's not sitting in the same seat anymore. So,
and even before it happens, Brian. You know what I mean? Like when I saw Tom out, and Tom was stringlining because there's no stakes. We're trying to finish up and meet the client's expectation of what they want this to look like at the very end, and I could see it. Right, like I mean, I don't know how to describe it. Like I can see grade and I can do it with a tracker. Dozers, I struggle. But Ford and like people that really operate, they can. That is something different because they can sit in the machine and see it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can stand there and say, yes, this is pitching that way. It's at about 1 degree, and I'll be close. But Ford could make ground that is flat 1 degree over a course of time, and that's what makes him a good operator.
Right. Yeah.
But Tom had strung all this out and with no stakes, and that's still fun to me. You know what I mean? When to watch Tom do math is scary because it's right, and I'm not quite sure how he arrived at it because Tom doesn't show his work. You know what I mean? Like we're in school, Tom's not showing any work. Tom's just the answer's 37. Right? Like why? Well, because that's the answer.
That's the answer.
Right. And he could explain to you how you got it, but he just so that's interesting because in a world that's becoming so like GPS driven and everything, and you see it on a screen, what happens when the GPS breaks?
Yeah.
What happens when you don't have signal? You know what I mean? And so that's where all of this, really has to be is that you hope for our purposes, what we hope out of construction happens is that the additional tools available to the younger generation can accelerate their learning curve to try and fill the voids that exist as people retire. Yeah. Not that it actually replaces the people or not that it makes them not have to be skilled.
Yeah.
Just that it can teach them to learn the thing faster.
I think that's a fantastic point. And I think we ought to change this a little bit as an industry. This is not construction appreciation. It shouldn't, or at least it shouldn't be. This isn't cool project appreciation. This is like construction workforce appreciation.
It's just employee appreciation.
Right.
All this is appreciating your employees, but
specifically the construction industry, but the workforce. It really is not like construction equipment appreciation or construction project.
I feel like it must always fall this week, right? It must always fall.
I think it's always similar time frame. Is it always second week, third week of September? I'm not sure.
And I got there a little bit last week, and I sort of feel like maybe if you and I can be better about planning, right? That next year we just plan to have 2 weeks where we go out 3 or 4 days a week, because effectively if you combine construction appreciation and Labor Day week, you have a 2-week period where we're saying thank you for all the hard work you put in every day that makes this go. Because
the labor force
at the end of the day, there's a 100,000 pound useless paperweight that gets a lot of work done because somebody knows how to run it.
Yeah.
And if you lose the somebody that knows how to run it, or the somebody that knows how to fix it and maintain it, or the somebody that knows how to move it, you got nothing. You just got a really heavy piece of metal that's going to rust away.
Yeah. Just holding stuff down, holding down the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it. So, that's probably a good place to wrap it up. I'm not sure what we added to this conversation.
I'm not sure what we added. I don't know. I feel like I didn't let Ford talk enough, frankly.
Well, Ford, thanks for joining us today to listen to Dan and I talk about workforce construction appreciation.
I am still here, just FYI.
I mean, it actually suits us. You know what I mean? Ford is certainly one of the, I get appreciated 52 times a year.
Yes,
you know what I mean? That's the Berg.
That's true.
That's the Bergs at their core. They do it because they enjoy it. Yeah. They do it because they want to do it, and they do it because, they get paid. Yeah. But, Tom, I saw Tom. I did not even mention Construction Appreciation Week to Tom. I just said, "Hey, you're doing a great job. Thank you." But I did not tell him because Tom would be like, you could just, if Ford could see its face, what would the face be?
He could have some thoughts about that.
Yeah. So I just didn't even do it. So he was good because I was just out there being normal.
Yeah, I wonder. We couldn't tell him we were doing it, but sometime we ought to record Tom talking about some of these life lessons.
You need like those glasses with the camera in them.
Generational wisdom
Yeah.
from Tom. Yeah.
You know what? It's completely off the track, but you know what? Erin wants Ford to do something so badly, and she says it would be amazing. And Ford, she has told Ford this. You know that Undercover Boss show where like the person, Erin thinks that Ford should do that so thoroughly because he naturally just wants to work, right?
Sure.
So this is first, it's a perfect fit because he could just show up like the guy who doesn't know anything, right? And just go to work. And then, you know, but the part that not even she can figure out is how Ford would like take off the mask and then like want to engage. He would just be like, this was awesome. I got to work for 8 hours and nobody knew and then I left. He doesn't want to have any follow up.
He'll be like, I'm going to need to do some more evaluation tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, at a different site, in a different costume. But she always talks about that. She thinks that would be something that, you know, from an appreciation standpoint, that's what made it come to mind. And she said, like, just imagine if all of a sudden, like, a crew of guys realized, like, that was Ford just working and Ford getting to see sort of like the fruits of his labor, right? That where we got to from Ford digging test pits with a shovel to where we are today.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. He doesn't, you know, it's hard even for me now and for you. You go out and it just changes things, right? Like, oh, Dan and Brian are here. Like, well, you know, like, oh, well, I'm going to say hi, but I say hi and I stop you from working, you know? And so Erin always thought that would be interesting if Ford could go out and just get to see the guys do what they do in the best possible way.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe another construction appreciation week, Ford. We'll sneak you on to Undercover Ford.
Undercover Ford.
Yeah, Undercover Ford.
I have to lose my beard. That'll be a sad day.
All right.
That's I've made it more worthless, so we can wrap it up.
No,
I got further from the topic.
No, that was definitely value added. I'm not sure what value.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a good place to wrap it up, though. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us today. Thank you so much to our workforce. Even though we try to do it a lot more publicly, we want to say thank you, at least during this Construction Workforce Appreciation Week. And folks, we hope you got something from this, and we hope you come back for another episode.